In this video, we will go over several practice problems on exponential decay graphs and semi-log plots. Be sure to work through each problem on your own before reviewing the solutions. Good luck, let's begin. So here's question number 1. It reads, if the decay constant k increases, what happens to the exponential decay curve? A says it becomes steeper and decays faster. Answer choice B says the curve becomes flatter and decays slower. C says the curve becomes linear on a normal graph. And D says it no longer follows exponential behavior. Which one do you think is the right answer choice? Pick one and let's review the solution together. So you can answer this question using two methods, a conceptual approach or a mathematical approach. Let's use both to arrive at the correct answer. So conceptually, if the decay constant K increases, the substance decays faster. A faster decay means the graph drops more quickly, producing a steeper slope. This matches answer choice A. Now let's confirm this mathematically using the exponential decay formula that we presented before. The AF is equal to AI times e to the power of negative k times t. We'll plug in two different values for the decay constant. One small, k is equal to 0.1, and another one large, k is equal to 1. And then we'll compare the final amounts after the passage of the same amount of time. Let's assume the initial amount is 100 grams and the time is 1 unit of time, or let's just say 1 hour. In case number 1, for smaller decay constant of k is equal to 0.1, we plug the values into the formula to get AF is equal to 100 times e to the power of negative 0.1 times 1. And that 1 is equal to the unit time, or 1 hour. This gives a final amount of approximately 90 grams. So after 1 unit of time, or after the passage of that 1 hour, the substance decreases from 100 grams to about 90 grams. And in case number 2, the larger decay constant of k is equal to 1. When we input all the values into the formula, we get AF is equal to 100 times e to the power of negative 1 times 1. This gives a final amount of 37 grams. So with a large decay constant of 1, the substance decreases from 100 grams to 37 grams in the same amount of time. As you can see, when comparing these two cases, a substance with a larger decay constant has a smaller final amount after the passage of a certain amount of time compared to the substance with the smaller decay constant. So this means that a larger decay constant produces a faster decay and a steeper slope. Although all exponential decay graphs start with an initial steep slope and eventually flatten, we're comparing the initial rate of the decay between two substances. The one with the larger K always drops faster and therefore has a steeper slope. This is why the correct answer to question number 1 is A. Here's question number 2. It reads, a drug follows first order elimination. If its initial concentration is doubled, what happens to the half-life? Does it double? Does it get halved? Or does it stay the same? Or does it become zero? So to answer this question, we need to recall a key relationship from the first order kinetics. For a first order process, the decay constant K and the half-life T1 half are related by the following formula. The K is equal to ln2 divided by T1 half. If we rearrange this, we get T1 half for the half-life is equal to ln2 divided by K. This equation tells us something very important. For first order process, the half-life depends only on the decay constant. It does not depend on the initial amount or the concentration of the substance. Now the question asks what happens to the half-life if we double the starting concentration. Since half-life for first-order kinetics is completely independent of the concentration, doubling the initial amount has no effect on the half-life. So the correct answer is C. It stays the same. Here's question number 3. It says, what does the slope of an exponential decay curve represent for a substance undergoing radioactive decay? Answer choice A says the slope of an exponential decay curve cannot be determined. Answer choice B says the slope is equal to the decay constant. Answer choice C says the slope represents the rate of change in the amount of the substance over time. Answer choice D says nothing meaningful can be determined from the slope because it is not constant. An exponential decay graph is not a straight line. It's curved, which means that the slope is not constant. The graph starts with its steep slopes, showing rapid early decay, and then gradually levels out into a flatter slope as the decay slows down. This changing slope represents the rate of change of the substance over time, and this is exactly what answer choice C says. Answer choices A and D are not correct. They are wrong because the slope of an exponential decay graph does tell us something meaningful. Answer choice B is also not correct because the decay constant is not the slope of an exponential curve. So the correct answer is C. Here's question number 4. It reads, scientists studying the growth of Pseudomonas aeruginosa tested the effectiveness of two antibiotics, penicillin and ciprofloxacin, on reducing the size of bacterial colony. They found that the ciprofloxacin decreases the time required for the colony to shrink to half its original size by a factor of 2 compared to penicillin treated group. Based on these results, what can be concluded about the semi-log plot of bacteria treated with ciprofloxacin compared to penicillin? Answer choice A says the graph will start at a higher value for the ln amount of bacteria for the ciprofloxacin group. Answer choice B says the slope of the semi-log plot for ciprofloxacin will be more negative. Answer choice C says the slope of the semi-log plot for ciprofloxacin will be less negative. And answer choice D says the graph for both antibiotics will have the same slope but differ only in curvature. Which one do you think is the correct answer? Come up with your reasoning and then let's go over the solutions together. So, what is this question really asking, and how can we arrive at the correct answer? This question wants you to determine how the semi-log plot of bacteria treated with ciprofloxacin will differ from the plot of the bacteria treated with penicillin. To answer that, we need to focus on two key factors. One, the experimental result, and two, what the question is asking us to compare. The question states that ciprofloxacin cuts the time required for the colony to shrink to half its original size by a factor of 2 compared to the penicillin treated group. So, what does that actually mean? Anytime a question talks about how long it takes for something to reduce, decrease, die off, or shrink to half its amount, it's referring to the same underlying idea, the half-life of the process. So even though we aren't using the term in the questions then, but this is referring to half-life. Now, how does this relate to the semi-log plot? On a semi-log plot of the ln final amount versus time, the straight line slope is determined by the decay constant k from using the equation of the ln AF is equal to minus k times t plus ln of AI. So this means a larger k value leads to a steeper, more negative slope, and a smaller k value leads to a flatter, less negative slope. So the question becomes, how does the change in the half-life affect the value of k? We can use the formula k is equal to ln2 divided by half-life. This tells us that K is inversely proportional to the time it takes for the amount to be reduced to half. So it is inversely proportional to the half-life. If that time is reduced by a factor of 2, as the question states for ciprofloxacin, then K must increase by a factor of 2. Once K doubles, the slope of the semi-log line becomes twice as steep. A steeper slope means a more negative slope, which further means the graph drops downward faster. So this leads directly to the correct answer. Answer choice B. The semi-log plot for ciprofloxacin will have a much steeper slope or a more negative slope. If you found this question to be a little bit challenging, remember this strategy. First, identify what the question stem is really asking you. Second, take any important information, even if it's worded in an unfamiliar language, and connect it back to formulas, equations, or any science concepts you've already known. So, by focusing on these two steps, understanding the question and mapping the results to your background knowledge, you can confidently tackle any difficult questions presented to you. With that in mind, let's move on to the next question. Question number 5. This is a much longer question, and question number 5 reads: in a study, scientists placed Nitrobacter, a genus of bacteria that oxidizes NO2 minus to NO3 minus, in the left compartment to serve as the anode. They placed a species of Pseudomonas which reduces NO3 minus to NO2 minus in the right compartment to act as the cathode. Together, they created a functional bioelectrochemical cell that produces a voltage of 3.8 volts. This cell was connected to two separate capacitors. The first capacitor had a capacitance of 4 microfarad, and the second had a capacitance of 8 microfarad. After charging both capacitors to the same voltage, the scientists disconnected the voltage source and measured how quickly each capacitor discharged. They observed that the 4 microfarad capacitor discharged twice as fast as the 8 microfarad capacitor. So, which of the following graphs best represents the result of this study? The correct answer to this question is B. Let's break it down together and see why. First, what is this question asking us? It's asking us to identify the graph that best represents the result of the study. So, what is a key piece of information that will help us pick the correct answer? If you said the result of the study, you are absolutely right. Here's the only sentence you need to focus on. They observed that the 4 microfarad capacitor discharged twice as fast as the 8 microfarad capacitor. That's it. This is the critical sentence. Everything else in the question stem is just background detail meant to distract you. So, what does this sentence mean? It tells us that the rate of discharge is faster for the 4 microfarad capacitor. Remember, we've already discussed that capacitor discharge follows an exponential decay curve. All the graphs shown here represent exponential decay. Now, let's recall what the axes represent. The y-axis shows voltage in volts, and the x-axis shows time in seconds. If the 4 microfarad capacitor discharges faster, that means its voltage drops more quickly over time. In other words, the curve should have a steeper downward slope. It falls off more rapidly. Now let's look at the answer choices. The first thing you should notice is that options A and B look similar to each other, and then options C and D also look similar to each other. But here's a key difference. In A and B, both capacitors start at the same initial voltage, while in C and D, they start at a different voltage. The question tells us that both capacitors were charged to the same initial voltage, so we can immediately eliminate options C and D. Now we're left with options A and B. Both start at the same voltage, but only B shows the 4 microfarad capacitor discharging faster. which appears as a steeper, more negative slope on the graph. That's why answer choice B is correct. This question is a great example of an MCAT style trap. It gives you a lot of extra information to throw you off. But your job is to stay laser focused on the main idea and the key data point that actually matters. I like to give you questions with varying levels of difficulty so you can build the skill of filtering out distractions, just like what you need to do on the real MCAT exam. So remember, focus on the core results, identify what the question is really asking you, and use your conceptual understanding to guide you toward the right answer. You should now have a solid understanding of exponential and semi-log plots. This concludes the video. Thank you for watching and best of luck on your MCAT journey.